Good morning, guys. You have already seen the thumbnail. Yes, today we have a very special guest here today. She'll be online with us very shortly. Her name is Mariegaard and she's from Denmark. So let me tell you something about her. She was born and raised in Copenhagen. She runs a company called Medfo, which was started in Denmark. Now it's also there in Nigeria. And as per the website, Medfo is an organization that was created to provide easily accessible health related resources to our community. They put you in contact with the top physicians in their industry who are willing to be able to provide you with comprehensive quality of healthcare. And their services include extensive database of healthcare facilities by location and doctor appointment scheduling, etc. And apart from this, she is also the host of Foreign Natives on Plus TV Africa channel 408. What a personality, right? So, guys, without wasting much time, I'm going to start the podcast with her, the very beautiful Leen Mariegaard, currently in Denmark. And, guys, you guys are watching Minding My Business, and I'm your host, Avi. So, good morning, Leen. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of my podcast. And I mean, I generally do this every week and I talk to different people from different parts of the world and from different walks of life. So, I saw your profile and I was very interested to know about what's happening in Africa and Nigeria as a whole because so much information coming out because I'm in the Middle East and all we get to know about is China, what's happening in Russia, what Donald Trump said yesterday, but no one is actually covering so much about Africa because I'm very surprised why nothing is coming, there's no news about it. So just, first question would be just to know in a general way that what was the whole impact in probably Nigeria and the entire Africa. If you could just give, maybe was the pandemic too big over there, or maybe people are more immune over there. Like how was it? Just to start with.
Well, first off, thank you for having me, and I'm glad that you're shedding some light on COVID in Africa. Because as you say, we don't hear about it. I am currently in Denmark because I can't get into Nigeria because of the pandemic where I live. And we only hear about Europe. We hear about the States. We hear about Russia. We hear about China. And this is usually what happens to Africa. They get overlooked, especially when it comes to medical conditions, because you only hear about the really, really terrible stuff. And it takes a while for countries to get to the really terrible stuff. So I'm glad that you're shedding some light on it because it is actually as bad in Africa as it is all around the world.
Okay.
The first thing you will need to understand that Africa is a huge continent, and of course they have like urban settlements. They live closely together. They have like very crowded, informal, like urban settlements. So it's very hard for them to social distance. It's very hard for them because they don't have a lot of access to water, like clean water, and they have a poor healthcare system. So when you put a pandemic like this on them, they have a very hard time. And what most people probably don't know is that they follow us. They do what we do with this because that's what they're being pushed to do. So when we locked down, 2 weeks later, most of Africa went on lockdown. So you have countries like Nigeria with 200 million people that went on lockdown. And most of those 200 million people, in like 91.9% of them, they are depending on day-to-day work to make their life work. So when you lock down an entire country like that, it takes a huge effect on the population. You can see it like the health conditions that they have to begin with. They suffer from HIV, they suffer from tuberculosis, they have malaria, they have so many underlying diseases. So they're not really in the best position to fight COVID. You can see that, they have the mortality rate is lower, mostly because we don't see the right data.
Correct. Yeah, true.
We don't actually know what's going on, but the numbers that we do have is that they have a lower mortality rate, and that's because they have a younger population in general in Africa. But you can also see that like you will have a lot of huge numbers. I think it was like you have 700,000 people dying from HIV and a little less of like from malaria each year. And these numbers will obviously go up. You saw it with the Ebola. It will go up because of COVID. And you will have about 1.8 to 5.3 million more deaths in 2030 because of COVID, because it takes a longer time for them to actually see the effects of this. So you also have like a huge, like the undernourishment part of this continent plays a huge part. Yeah.
But like Africa maybe lacks something, what I wanted to know is, as India, I think I probably feel that, we in India probably we acted very late, in locking down the borders, that's how it started. Like, I think probably many countries, South Korea did it in the beginning, but many countries could actually, start all this. US did like in the very end. So did Africa, like, I mean, they were aware of it when it came, or like, obviously, I mean, with lesser resources, how would anybody, know that this is going to be so big? But what do you think? I mean, was it a late reaction, or like, it's okay? I mean, being Africa, probably with lesser resources, it just happened.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that. When you have less resources, you are trying to keep afloat as long as you can, because I'm sure everyone would know the consequences of shutting it down. Nigeria and Ghana, for example, which is the countries where I work and live in, they shut down 2 weeks after Denmark, and Denmark was one of the first countries to shut down. So they acted kind of quick compared to what you could expect. But Nigeria, for example, has a huge expat and import-export community. So you have a lot of people, especially Chinese people, coming in and out.
Correct.
So you had millions of people coming in before shutting it down. So maybe late compared to that, but they were actually kind of quick compared to what you could expect, at least.
Okay. Lean, another question is, you run a company called Medfo, and
Yes.
I would also, just for the audience and myself as well, how have your last 5 months been? Has it, I mean, obviously, we just want to know how the last 5 months were, and how did you manage to, because probably there is more demand now, and yeah, I mean, the issues are much more bigger than what it would have been in Jan or Feb. So
yeah. Well, first of all, I was in Norway because I run a trauma unit, and I go to Norway once in a while to collect data and work. So I was actually in Norway when this started. So they closed the borders before I could get back to Nigeria. If that wasn't the case, I would have been in Nigeria by now, because as you said, Medfo is an online platform where you for doctors and for obviously the population, you can book your doctors online, and in the real world you can go to that doctor, you can see them in person. But with COVID, you have to do it online. So of course the demand has spiked, and it's very difficult for anyone to run something in Africa when you're not in Africa. Yeah. So it has been a little difficult for me personally, but the company is thankfully thriving, because as you said, the demand has definitely increased. Personally for me, it's been a little hard, but I'm glad that we had a platform for people who had to stay at home and had a lot of questions and were scared, that they had an opportunity to call someone who knew and talk to them about it and feel more safe. And even today, Nigeria is doing they have a curfew, so you have to be home by 10 p.m. at night, and you can't be, so you have to stay home still a lot in Nigeria, and everything is still closed. They're slowly opening up, but they're still closed. So it's still a great platform for them to use.
And Lean, I have 2 more things which I wanted to know, so I'll ask you one by one. One is, I mean, the COVID vaccine, Russia apparently has already discovered, they've already made it, so I'll talk in the next segment. But the first thing is, when the testing kits were being distributed, I mean, when in India they were producing a lot, and Donald Trump said that if you don't give it to us, I mean, he threatened to cut down ties. So Indian Prime Minister had to send it. So I want to know, how much help has Africa received? Or, I mean, because everyone has been obviously so busy in serving their own country, but with huge continent like Africa. We're just talking about Nigeria and Ghana now. Like, has it been enough? I mean, nothing is ever enough. But I mean, how has the help been from over the world? Like in terms of say kids, in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, they were overlooked as always. We saw it with the AIDS pandemic. Even though it resonated in Africa, it took them years to get the supplies and the medication for it. The first thing, obviously, is to know that Africa, before this, owes the world a lot of money. Okay. The debt is huge in Africa as a continent. And with this, you can see it was estimated that it would drop 4.4% in the GDP, like in points because of this, because they have gotten a lot of money. They've actually gotten $570 billion by the World Bank. And that's obviously divided into like each country. But it's taken a long time. And it's like in the next 15 years, it will be, I think it was like the $400 billion. So it will like gradually be giving to them. In the beginning, they were giving 1 million test kits every 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So you don't have a country that can test even half of the population, which is what WHO actually require. And it is about resources because they have the means to do it. You can, like last year, Kenya did almost tested half of the population for HIV within a year. So it's possible for them to do it if they have the resources to do it. Nigeria, for example, they have just accepted $3.4 billion by IMF. And that is to help with the healthcare system because it's poorly funded. Yeah. And most of it sadly has to do with corruption. Corruption is a huge part in most African countries when it comes to, so you will see most countries, it's the patients that have to pay out of their own pocket for the treatments, for the test kits, for the whatever it might be. And that creates an even deeper hole in like the poor population of Nigeria, for example. So it has to do a lot about money because Africa as a continent, they do have the money, but when it comes to like the resources, they're put behind bigger nations as Russia and America and Europe as a whole of the nation. And I don't know why it's been like that. Yeah, I don't know why it's still like that. You can see South Africa is usually a frontliner to most things, and they've also accepted to be a part of the trial, the vaccine trial. And if you like talk a little bit about the vaccines, it's also a huge ethical question when it comes to the continent of Africa because we've seen a lot of not so ethical trials made in Africa. I think it was in 1996, you had a meningitis trial in Kenya, which left millions disabled and died. But because they had signed, they couldn't really do much about it. And you can see that sadly, some African countries, they don't really have another choice but to say yes to these trials because it's better to maybe get help than to not get any at all. And if it works out, if it's accepted and in that country, you have first rights to vaccines. So it's also a way out for them. Okay. You have South Africa who's accepted, and you have Kenya as a pending to accept, and more countries will definitely come. And it's a good thing because if you talk about like the vaccine war that we know is coming, they're better off if they already have accepted the vaccine to begin with.
Okay. I mean, that's what I wanted to take the conversation to in my last segment. So Russia has already, I mean, they are going to probably start distributing by the last quarter, I think, and already orders have been placed. And there have been a lot of announcements throughout the world. I mean, I think even the foundations of Bill Clinton, the founders of Microsoft, Bill Gates, everybody, they're producing vaccines. And I think all of them will probably come out around the same time. Do you see a vaccine war? Like countries probably, say any country, XYZ country who are producing their own vaccine will not accept somebody else's vaccine because it will be their loss. I mean, you see a vaccine war coming amidst all this? I mean, it could be, I'm just saying it's a thought, but we have seen uglier things before.
I definitely think something is coming, and Africa is not a part of producing a vaccine for this at all. So, as I said, their option is to accept being a trial country or try to get into the bidding war. And if you're putting them up against these bigger nations, they will lose. You have a lot of frontliners in Africa who says like we need to be more proactive. We can't just sit around and wait for help. We have to do something. So you have countries where they, like Ghana and South Africa, they're actually half of the testing is from those two countries of the entire continent. So you have frontliners who are trying to do what they can, and that's also why their mortality rate is low. So you will definitely have pros and cons. Like you will have countries where you would have to say yes, like the less touristed countries and the ones that really rely on aid. You will have them say yes to trials, and you will not always succeed. And then you will have countries with bigger economy, maybe South Africa, who could also be a part of helping and producing and providing information.
Correct.
And it's also because you have a lot of people saying like, if we say yes to trials, if it gets accepted, if you can see it working on the African people, they're not afraid to say, okay, we know it works here. It's sometimes more dangerous to have a vaccine being produced to Europeans, and then maybe when it comes to Africa, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Because we are different in our anatomics. Somehow we respond to different things because of the environment that we live in. But sometimes it is easier for them to say, okay, let's start it here and see how far we can go with this. Because as I see it, it's probably their only option of getting a vaccine, because when it comes to outbidding countries like Russia, I don't think it would be a fair bidding war, first off. And also, if it was, they would probably lose anyway. So yeah. But you will.
And yeah, that's about it, Lean. I mean, I just wanted to know what was going on in Africa. I mean, pretty much what you said was what I had in mind as well, and I hope things improve. When do you think you could fly back? Another 2-3 months?
Maybe. I am 5 minutes away from getting my own evacuation flight, because I'm starting to feel like it's an emergency. I don't know. I hope not 3 months. I hope maybe 2 months, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I would love to be in Nigeria or Ghana. I would love to be on that continent because I love it, and I'm glad that it's getting some light.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you very much
for having me.
Thank you for taking out time, and yep, I will get back to you soon.
Hi guys, so finally our call came to an end. It was a short call, and I hope you like this episode. And we are trying to cover different kinds of content and different topics from all over the world. So this one was a little kind of infography where we wanted to know about what's happening in Africa, Nigeria, and I hope guys that we get to cover more topics like these. And please support us, please like, comment and subscribe, and my Insta handle is there in the description. Please check it out. Please guys, support us. I need your support, and I'll be back with a brand new episode next week. Till then, take care guys. Cheers. Bye.